Having some technical problems over here. I'm gonna try to bring Larry back in, and let's see. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, folks, you're here. I hope the stream has been consistent for you. I'm just gonna try to bring Larry back in, and let's see what happens. Hello, Larry. Are you
Hi,
there?
I'm good. Yeah, what I tried to call you back on Skype. I was here the whole time.
I don't know what happened there, but I think we're all back.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yay.
we're back here.
We'll have two broken streams, but oh well.
I don't know if it's been continuous for all of you watching or not. But
I was asking the chat, and I don't think I ever got a.
yeah,
Don't think I ever did get a straight answer. Yeah, I had the. I'm watching in restream, and I had the chat still going. But anyway, here we
well,
are.
yep. As Melanie says, we were trapped in the transport buffer, but we are back. Okay, so Larry, we left
Oh
off.
my God, creepy thing over here. Oh wait.
We left off talking about Deep Space Nine, specifically the Obsidian Order and Romulan alliance, the Tal Shiar. The Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order, these intelligence agencies of these two empires, their quest to do a preliminary, a preemptive strike against the Dominion. So, Larry, you brought up this example. I love this example. Do you wanna discuss this one?
What? Oh, this one. Yes. I'm still sitting here trying to juggle. I've got dead windows and live windows alive. No, it's just the overconfidence of, and it's not like the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order haven't planned and carried out all kinds of insidiously horrible things before, to great success. But they didn't count on the infill when the major Romulan officer that we see turns out to be a shapeshifter infiltrator
Yeah. Yep.
posing as a Romulan. It's also a good, on one hand, you're thinking, yay, the Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar, didn't win. But on the other, well, it endangers, Garrick and who's with him, Odo. It endangers them, but at the same time, you're like, oh wow, if these guys can trick those two, what are they going to do to us? It's like, oh, maybe we should have had a friend of my, my enemy is my friend of my enemy, or whatever. It really sets up the stage for you to realize, well, if they can infiltrate them, they can certainly infiltrate us. And the whole paranoia about shapeshifters and everything that would later be brought to real fruition on Battlestar Galactica with the Cylons. Oh wait, no, that's ahead of time. Everything that would come home to roost about the paranoia of the shapeshifters. They're everywhere. They could be anywhere, and being a really good communist infiltrator type parallel there. But it was chilling to think that your enemies are going to go down like this. It's like watching 8472 do away with the Borg, and you're going, oh, okay, is that a good thing? Oops, here's the new bad. So it just showed that if they could be that overconfident and misjudge and not know all the facts, this was a case of overconfidence, but you're like overconfidence from your old status quo. It's like the Civil War. It's like World War One beginning, being fought like the last war, and no one realizes what technology has done to upset the formula. And this is a case where no one stopped to think what changeling infiltrators and spies could do. If your top guy is being duplicated, you're kind of like doomed from the beginning because. And that's what that was great for. But I love the way all the Starfleet people in the audience themselves are led along and
Yeah.
don't, the reveal that the Romulan is a shapeshifter at the end
It's
is it's
we're led along for a long way. Like
sheer effing hubris there is what's happening. Yeah.
the crumbs of that storyline are laid out in all the episodes prior, where they are the Obsidian Order is like, why would they have their own ships? What are they doing in that system over there? There's a lot of great. I would say it's one of DS9's first great arcs that is
Mhm.
slowly builds and culminates in this larger story, and that story is wow, it's a bit of a surprise how that story plays out. So I
It's
really I really love that. And this is also Larry, the saying, you're always fighting the last war, which kind of speaks to how
Start off fighting the last
Yeah,
war.
you start off fighting the last war. The military gets good at fighting a certain type of conflict and has a hard time initially adjusting to the new type of conflict. My favorite example of this is World War Z, the book, not the movie, but they really talk about how their weapons were not really set up to fight against zombies. It's a great metaphor for this, and you see this in this Dominion storyline where they were completely ill prepared to take on a enemy that could disguise itself as you. And
Mm.
we see later on that they do start implementing these blood tests. We see that once Earth has been compromised, once they become aware that Earth is compromised, to which the founder says, "Oh, we're everywhere now. Oh, you have no idea."
Too late.
Your chancellor with the eyes. We have him. No, actually, they didn't have him. They had what's his name?
They didn't have bug eyes. They had one eyes.
They had one. What's his name,
But
Larry?
it was, what, Martok?
Martok. They had Martok. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you were a DS9 fan.
I am, but apparently there's not enough coffee in the nebula this morning to get me going.
Hollow. So I saw somebody debating last week if Hollow Janeway had a supply of Hollow coffee.
I love that little detail, how she's always drinking that coffee. So Larry, that's just it's a really great example because you're right. It shows how overconfidence can play out not just with individuals but with governments and secret agencies and secret agent people. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's a deep cut there.
We're talking about Deep Space Nine. So
Giving you
speaking,
I thought you were going to go into Secret Agent Man. Weren't you doing the Secret Agent Man theme there?
I was, yeah.
Secret Agent. Yeah, he's giving you a number.
Man, secret agent man. Speaking of sheer effing hubris, let's talk about that.
Giving you a number and taking away your name. Yes.
So let's talk about this moment. This is the moment in season 1, Star Trek Picard, where Jean-Luc is wearing that giant, hideous visitor badge. I really hate that thing.
It's amazing that he doesn't walk around with his jacket. He puts the pin on his shirt.
It's so big. And they, in the previews at least, the badges they're wearing there are huge too. What's the deal? What's the deal with these huge Picard badges? I don't know.
Fansets almost went broke having to make those full size. It was like 3 times the metal of an ordinary pen. Pin. That is a pin.
It's a bit overconfidence in the badges there.
But at the same scene, or at the same time, I sent you another Picard
You did?
slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. The initial sheer effing hubris of him thinking, but this is more like the rug pulled out from under him. He should have known better about the second time.
All right. Well, let's unpack it. Let's unpack it. So the first one you're talking about overconfidence in terms of the evacuation of Romulus.
Let's unpack it.
Let's just hope our internet packets don't get lost in the stream.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the initial, the evacuation of the Romulan,
Right.
Romulus?
When he didn't realize, I say overconfidence, that's coming from a case of going along status quo and not realizing all the parameters that have shifted while you've been in your tunnel. Even tunnel vision for good is still tunnel vision if you're not keeping up with what's going on around you.
Let's identify this. What was the problem there with the?
Thank you, JR.
What was I tune in for grown men singing tunes and talking track? Singing tunes and talking track should be the name of this show.
Yeah,
that would be a better name.
I could have used that for if they were worried about John Barry for our man Bashir, they could have gone to Secret Agent Man's theme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Larry, it's been a while since I saw season 1 of Picard, and I've only seen it once.
It's the only season there is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. For now. The reason the evacuation of Romulus failed is because
the synth attack and Starfleet and the Federation cut off all somewhere between the synth attack on Mars and thinking that they had to retrench the ships they were committing this huge project to Romulus, and just a big retrenchment on the part of Starfleet.
And the synth attack was a problem because that's where they were building these ships. They didn't have enough ships. But the synth attack was also orchestrated by the. I was gonna say.
Go
I was
for
gonna
it.
say the Betty Gesserit.
Not the warrior nuns. The other Romulan thing I haven't had time to soak in yet. The shot Kavash.
Yeah.
Vosh Kashat.
Yeah.
The Vosh shit, yes. If you're going to go there and pull up all this stuff, then I'm going to, hey, first duty's been around 30 years or 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pull word starburst out of my ass.
Starburst. So now I feel like we're talking about Farscape. Gosh. Okay. So not the Betty Gesserits, but the Romulan, the Zat Vash. Right. Thank you.
Okay. I was one syllable too many. I was mostly there. Yes.
It was orchestrated. They didn't want Romulus to be quote unquote saved by the Federation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, that was a thread of it, yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why they cooked up the whole synth. I mean, they programmed the androids, the AI, the synth, whatever the PC word for them is this decade. Since android is apparently so 23rd century. What is this, Harry Mudville? Okay, yeah.
Okay, so Picard didn't see that coming.
Yeah, the shifting winds of war. Yeah, the
Yeah.
shifting winds. Yeah.
Which, like, it is a little surprising given how much he's been working towards unification. Like, he should know some of the political complexities here.
Well, it didn't hit him out of the blue. It hit everybody out of the blue. But that's what happens when you have if you've been infiltrated, by a Tal Shiar agent at the upper levels of Starfleet that has surrogates.
Yeah.
And if you can figure out that O is a stupidly, obviously fake Vulcan name, if you're that off, then I'm sorry, you're asking.
Yeah, I mean, the Starfleet people should have been like, "Hey, what's the deal with the one admiral that wears sunglasses?"
She couldn't have been, she couldn't have been Commodore Tuo. No, she had to be just O. So, Starfleet wound up being full of does. But anyway, doe. Okay.
Jared says the Picard novel Last Best Hope deals with the Mars attack and the Romulan situation from a politically perspective brilliantly. I hope it doesn't bring in more details from Mars attacks, because that's a whole nother franchise that would really muck all this up. Actually, Mars Attack's not a franchise. It was just a one-off. All right. Anyways, so there's overconfidence there, but then the sheer fracking hubris here of Picard going into the Admiral and just expecting that he could. It's not just about the ships, but it's about expecting that he can just pick up where he left off as that Admiral, not acknowledging that he's left Starfleet. He is no longer a part of it. And not only did he leave Starfleet, but he went out in this the morning show / what's the great example? The movie News
night, news stations. Yeah.
The reporter who just,
shows up and blows up.
Yeah.
About network? About network.
Network, yeah. Picard doesn't quite pull a network here, but he does give an interview that is not that flattering to the Federation News Network, which I can only imagine Jake runs now in this future timeline. But he is overconfident and doesn't really acknowledge the changes that have occurred since he left Starfleet.
Yeah, the tunnel vision of he's working hard and he's got a staff. He's got Raffi with him, but or what is she, Commander Musiker or Lieutenant Commander Musiker? But no, it's the tunnel of not being, disconnected. It's the tunnel of being uber connected, of losing sight of the big picture. But again, what I was kidding about Commander Commodore O, but it's hard to be on top of things when you've got someone nefarious, about to pull the rug out from under you that otherwise would have been pulled.
Right.
If there hadn't been a conspiracy to channel to set up the synth attack on Mars and blow up the whole program, then none of this would have happened. They would have gone along. It was an outside force coming in. It was sabotage. It was espionage, and it worked for a while until it was exposed. But yeah, we lose. I mean, that gets lost track of. That all of this wouldn't have happened. He would have still been merrily running along, helping the warrior nuns and everybody else evacuate, if it hadn't been for that. So this cult, because most Romulans wanted to be saved. It was just the cult of the Romulans.
Yes, it was just the Bene Gesserits who had been orchestrating this for thousands of years.
They were the little animated robot Borg. Yeah. Someone this week said, what do the the Jat Vash's little, animatronic demons in the clouds, what would they have thought of the Borg? And is there any connection between them and the Borg? Anyway, it was kind of bizarre.
Huh. Interesting.
Okay, obviously not interesting to everybody, but okay. Anyway, overconfidence. We're obviously overconfident that anybody cares what the heck it is we're talking about.
Well, I want to talk about a movie that. Let's talk about a movie. So we've talked a lot about Deep Space Nine and Picard and Voyager. It's interesting. We haven't even evoked TNG once. Maybe we won't this whole episode.
No, we did.
First duty. The first duty of every live support live episode is to do an impression of Picard. Let's talk about the voyage home. I'm sorry, the Final Frontier. Sorry, not the voyage home. Let's talk about the Final Frontier. I think of one of the most complicated movies in terms of the whole story of the movie and what happened and how we got here. But I think there's a lot of
aside from the motion picture and Wrath of Khan and Star Trek 6, I think 3 and 4 were the easiest movies as a
maybe
it's K3 here, but
maybe it's easier to talk about the movies that were there. It's a shorter list, the movies that were easy. And First Contact, can you say First Contact was a pretty straightforward?
I mean, the only hiccup with it was this: they started with one structure of Picard on the ground and Riker on the ship, and they flipped that.
I thought you were going to talk about the deflector dish.
It wrote itself. Right.
Changed,
Insurrection was the problematic one.
They changed the deflector dish on the Enterprise in First Contact very late in the game there. Anyways, okay.
Generations and Insurrection had totally new endings, had to be reshot. So.
Oh, yeah. and Nemesis went through a lot of changes.
And the Nemesis was just made.
I will always love Brent Spiner's joke. I saw him at a convention, and he was talking about Nemesis, and he said, "Yeah, there was one draft of it that the execs loved and the cast did not, and there's one version that the cast loved and the execs did not, and then there's one version that no one loved, and that's a version we made."
That's the one they made with the director they had, which
yeah.
Notice how many movies he directed after that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
Well, he went back to
editing. Went back to editing.
Yeah.
Overconfidence. Hey, we got a K3 now. Anyways.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. That would be a good one. I'm glad they didn't make that mistake again with Star Trek Beyond. Give it to a director who's never done it before. Oh man. Anyways, we're talking.
Justin Lin's directed.
No. Justin Lin was great. I loved him, but it was originally said to be given to someone else to direct.
Yeah. Well, Bob Orsi was going to direct it.
Yes.
I think. Yes. I still would like to see that one, but let's move on.
Page 2. So let's talk Star Trek 5.
Let's talk Star Trek. Yes. An hour in, let's start talking about Star Trek.
Now, I'm not talking about the behind-the-scenes Shatner directing a movie with a limited budget.
It'd be a K3.
Unexpected. Yes. Yeah, that would be a K3. I am talking about Overconfidence. So in our comments, someone already brought up before Kirk rock climbing here and then slipping and falling. I think
Yeah.
Spock distracted him a little bit. Maybe it would have been okay if Spock wasn't asking all those questions here. But Cybok's overconfidence here, as well as the overconfidence of that alien.
I was thinking about Kirk's overconfidence, thinking they could just hop in like, what is this? A low budget episode from '69? No, this is a big movie, even if it's on a cut budget. And no, it's the whole thing of them all being taken hostage by the rabble.
Yes.
That's kind of the thing, the mob there with their little goofy looking pipe guns. How dangerous could those be? But the kind of the shock when they're taken, that's what I was taking away of the overconfidence there.
Yeah, not to be confused by the shakari.
Shakari, shakara, shakari, shakara. Oh, if only we could only laugh at Star Trek 5. Okay, I'm being too mean. Lots of people love Star Trek 5. But
love all the Yosemite scenes.
there's all kinds of SF hubris going on. Science fiction hubris, that's what it is. Those old scientists. No, the hubris is going both ways there, but you were saying from Cybok's point of view,
Yeah.
some overconfidence.
Yeah.
Which I don't usually think about.
Yeah.
He just looks like he's starry-eyed all the way through it, and he doesn't matter that he stumbles and trips, and he goes out on I'll handle this.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely has the confidence of a cult leader. I think Cybok's an interesting character, and I hope we get to see more of him in Strange New Worlds or somewhere. Because I think he is an interesting, complicated character. I think he.
Well, they're going to make a whole sub-franchise out of Prodigy. So I'm hoping to see Baby Michael someday, and I'd like to see wacky older stepbrother Cybok, bop home when it suits him.
Brother Cybok.
I so want people are going on and on and on about they just wedged Michael in there and she doesn't belong, and I'm like, guys, I want to see the sister that Spock doesn't talk about now. Back in the day, we saw some scenes, flashbacks, and Discovery, but I want to take that and maybe with the flavor of yesteryear. I want that, and I want to see the episode where Cybok turns up and Sarek and Amanda are like, oh yeah, so good to see you, son. Yeah, okay. Hey, Amanda, please don't call me Amanda, but you're not my mom. I mean, I want to see all of that. Don't you?
I would love to see Burnham hanging out with Cybok and Cybok being like, look, let me tell you about this family. Let me tell you how you deal with it. I want to see that scene.
He may be Ambassador Sarek to the galaxy, but it's just Dad here.
I think that'd be such a cool.
I'm so waiting on that's the ultimate texture not trivia to me, is like, let's take this and run with it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But no, Cybok's
but I'm probably being a little overconfident in thinking that we're ever going to see that. So
Cybok really walks around with the overconfidence of a cult leader, and how he approaches. I do love the scene on what feels like the Enterprise A's 10 forward or observation deck, where Cybok is having Bones and Spock relive those most painful moments, and then Kirk says like, "I need my pain, I want to feel it, and I want to go climb a rock." I
want to direct this movie.
I need my pain. That's why I'm directing Star Trek 5 with no budget at all.
That's why I'm doing an odd-numbered original series movie. Yeah.
But it's the first time he's encountering someone who's like, no, I don't want to be rid of my pain. I need this. I need to experience it. And later on, Kirk has
this is why there's no counselor on the Enterprise A and original.
Charlotte says Kirk's the only one with the cojones to ask God, excuse me, what does God need with the starship? Which is
that row your boat are kind of like the two highlights of Star Trek 5.
Yeah, it's row your boat is wonderful. All right. The other one, Larry, we've talked about this example so many times, and I think that's why we don't have an image for it. Khan in his overconfidence,
Oh, I
and
wasn't about. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like
Another movie. Yeah,
not thinking about three-dimensional. Savik is
yeah,
as well
yeah.
another example of this. Was there anything you wanted to say about the original series here before we kind of move on?
Well, I mean, Connie, but I mean, Daystrom in M5. I mean, there's lots of, bits all the way in and out there that people can come up with them. I mean, Corby and his android revolution. I mean, all the starry-eyed, whether they're starry-eyed misfits or wrong path people or the megalomaniac villains like Khan. The Kelvins about not
Oh,
the
the
Not
Kelvins.
people, but the Kelvin Empire taking human form and not thinking that over 900 years they're not going to not be the people that left. Really, what's their lifespan? I don't know, but no,
Speaking of Kelvin, I think the Kelvin
science are
timeline.
still full of it. Yeah.
The Kelvin timeline is full of overconfidence, whether it's Kirk in Star Trek
Or,
2009.
or
How long does it take to graduate here? I'll do it in two
mm-hmm.
years. Is that what he says? 2 years?
Something I don't know. It's
Anyway,
the Kelvin
something.
timeline. Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
He says that, but also he just, when Bones is like, we got no captain, no first officer to replace
We got
him.
no captain. Da-dum, da-dum. Okay, sorry.
And Cadet Kirk says, yeah, we do. So there's definitely that Kirk is quite overconfident. And then we see some of his inexperience playing out in Star Trek Into Darkness as well, when he turns to the crew and apologizes for what he thinks is going to be the destruction of the ship. We also see it when RoboCop brings back. So I only refer to him as Admiral RoboCop. When Admiral Marcus brings back Khan. Turns him into a white British man.
Or Terra Prime. Indeed.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's an Enterprise? Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
No, now he's stuck with Stid. Okay.
Brings him back, and the sheer frelling hubris of that, of bringing back Khan. So that's another example of this. Oh, Robert's got a great example. Garth, of course. Great example.
Of course, Garth was not well.
Yes.
But still.
Yes.
That didn't matter to everybody who was sucked up. So there were two franchise series here that I didn't go to just because it was like, oh my God, there's so many. I didn't even want to with it. Well, Lower Decks and I was debating whether Discovery. I was trying to do that, but then on one hand, as Charlotte said at 10:59. Michael Burnham is often overconfident.
Yes.
I think she's gotten better about it, but it's even when she's trying to do for good, she's overconfident about, to be blindsided. Oh, you're really mutinying here. I know you really feel like you're doing what you got to do, but this isn't just about you. It's about the ship and the Federation and galactic relations. Yeah. So, I mean, I was going through Discovery trying to think, but Lower Decks also. I mean, between Boimler and Mariner, both of them. And you know what? I threw one out at you, and I didn't even pull an in. I did have one. To me, it's always wacky how, and I know people are going, well, it's Lower Decks, and it's a cartoon, so yeah. But the whole thing of Rutherford's little experiment with the transporter and Boimler phasing. I mean, it was total mad scientist. Oh, I just invented this. Jump in. Let's test it out. Ha ha. Okie dokie. Let's do that. And I'm like, even for Lower Decks, that was a little wacko. So, yeah.
Yeah, Nathaniel says here, Mariner.
And to me, that's a case of the overconfidence comes from just not thinking through. It's not the hubris of thinking everything I touch is going to be perfect. It's just a thing of just not thinking.
Yes.
Maybe that's naivete, but anyway.
I like what Nathaniel says here. Mariner's overconfidence personified, cannot process experience, cannot appreciate expertise. And I think that arc has...
But then, see, she does at times. She's always talking about how I've been around the block, and she's saving Boimler because she's been here before, she's seen this before, and he's like, what? And it's gradually dawning on him in the audience that if she's, to me, this is hysterical. If she's got a peer that she went to the academy with who is now a captain, it's not just about her being bucked down. It's like, how many years have you been knocked down and demoted for things where somebody else who wasn't that way? I mean, they're not talking about people who are now lieutenants, or lieutenant commanders or even command. We're talking about somebody who's a captain. And Mariner has been kicked down and she's older than I still say she's
much older than her
yeah,
colleagues on the lower decks.
Yes. Yeah.
And so she definitely is going through an arc in season 2 where she's becoming more open to feedback and experience. I think the episode where she is having a tiff with that other officer, and then they realize, oh, maybe these other 2 people that are with us have some good ideas. Let's ask them. I think that's a real sign of growth here. And one of the things that Mariner does do often by the end of an episode is what is in the best interest of the crew and the ship and the mission. It might start off with what's in my best interest, but it does end in a place. She does do the Starfleet thing by the end of the episode. So, and I think that's the real inexperience in rank showing that the senior staff wouldn't make the same kind of mistakes that she does. Glenn's got an interesting comment here. Based on the situation as written in the first episode of Discovery, Michael was actually right to want to strike the Klingons first, and Georgiou was wrong to stop her.
You know what that is personified in miniature? It's in Envoys. I can't believe I'm learning the episodes of Lower Decks. It's in Envoys when Boimler is going to ferry the Klingon general down to his diplomatic thing, and Mariner invites herself along. He doesn't know why. It's because they were old drinking buddies, and he walks in the shuttle, and Boimler's all being all Mr. Diplomatic, protocol, and she jumps up and attacks him. And Boimler is, he's aghast. What are you doing attacking our guest? But she's being Klingon with him, and he's like, ha 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 ha. And she's doing the appropriate thing, which it's a cultural thing there, and that was for greeting a friend, but it's the same kind of thing. Mariner wanted to slap them around, because her dad was telling her, Sarek was telling her, this is what you have to do, and Georgiou was playing it by the book.
Yeah,
but it was not a by the book situation.
It was not,
which made her mutiny charge all the more doubly hurtful.
Yeah.
It's not like, damn, I got caught. It's like, no, this is what needed to be done.
Yep. Yep.
It's like Billy Mitchell on court martial for trying to show them how antiquated the Air Force, or how having not an Air Force was. And he got yelled at for being a truth teller, or ahead of his time.
It's a really good pilot. I really like Star Trek Discovery's pilot. I think it's compared to a lot of the pilots we've had, it's pretty darn strong. The rest of season 1 was going in a lot of different directions.
Well, it had 47 writers. That's and true. Revisions.
Yeah.
So
and it reflected all of them. Larry, is there anything you want to say before we go to the counselor's log?
No.
Cool.
I've been trying to catch up in the chat. Oh, look, it's another graphic. It must be part of our structure.
It's we're losing structural integrity, but it is holding at 25%. The counselor's log, this is the part of the show where I do a little bit deeper dive into some of the psychology and mental health behind the topic that we are discussing. And this week, Larry, we are discussing overconfidence. And this is and
doing a great job, if I do say so myself.
See what you did. So this is actually the topic I want to talk about here is many moons ago, someone brought this up in our poll on our Facebook page as a topic they want explored, and this is the Dunning-Kruger Effect is what I want to talk about over here. This is something that we are all vulnerable to, and it is a specific type of overconfidence. It's when you overestimate your abilities, and this particularly happens when you're inexperienced with something. So, an example I want to give, is when a couple of years ago I was experiencing some kind of a problem with my toilet. It was the refill stuff. It was like constantly running.
Yep.
It was constantly like refilling itself. And so I was like, how hard must this be to fix? Let me try to fix this. I'll totally save the, one, two, $300 it's gonna cost to have a plumber come in and take a look at it. I'm sure I can kind of like tighten up some screws somewhere. It's only gonna take like half an hour. No, it did not just take half an hour. It turned out I couldn't even access any of the things I needed to without special equipment. I got that special equipment. Then I couldn't figure out how to work it. Nothing was happening. Fortunately, I didn't make it worse, but I did lose a lot of time and money trying to do this myself. And what happened is completely the Dunning-Kruger effect. I had no experience fixing anything like this. I had no idea how complicated it is. I had no idea what tools were needed. I had no idea how I could be causing more problems than not. Similarly, the other side of this, of the Dunning-Kruger effect, is also true, is when you have a lot of experience in something, the task might seem a lot simpler to you than it really is. So when I did bring a plumber in to fix that, that plumber looked at this and said, "Oh yeah, this is easy. I just got to do this. This will only take me half an hour." But that's what this person does for a living and has seen, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of this kind of problem. So this is something that I have a graphic here. I thought this
I'm so
was
glad you didn't pursue the that project, so that you didn't have to have a Starfleet doctor stand there and tell you not to, because you'll flood the whole compartment.
I'll flood the whole compartment with plumbing water. So here's a pretty good graphic that shows this. Is when you have very low competence, when you know very little about this, you're very confident. When you know a lot about it, you're very confident. And most people are kind of in the middle there as average person. But when this is
Did,
particularly, go ahead, Larry.
did you have an average person think they could make a good graphic? So,
I just like how cute that average person is right there.
yeah,
I love how cute this
it
graphic
kind
is.
of proved if this is a Dunning-Kruger graphic, it's perfect to show. I can do a Dunning-Kruger graphic.
But I mean, if when you don't know much about something, Larry, you don't know what your knowledge gaps are. There's a lot of unknown knowns to
Thank you.
reference a previous secretary
Thank,
of
thank you, Donald
defense. Yeah,
Rumsfeld.
I
Yeah.
know. Gosh, that.
My man Will Rogers, who just had his birthday a couple of days ago, that
Hmm.
I celebrated online. He had a great line about this that I always appreciated, which was, he said, "The more you know, the more you realize you don't know."
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been my experience in graduate school. The closer I got to graduating, the more I realize all of this stuff is so complicated. And I know, I went into grad school thinking I know all of this stuff from my undergraduate education. And then I came out with my PhD and I felt like I knew this much. Like, wow, all of this stuff is so much more complicated than I ever realized, and um, that's very
Hello,
much how this
I'm
works.
Dr. Ali Matu, the niche doctor.
Yeah, no, I know. So this is the problem when you don't have much experience. It's you don't know how complicated a task is, and this has a lot of implications. Larry, you talked about the Obsidian Order and the Tal Shiar. This plays out in politics and government and voters all the time, all the time. The most uninformed people think they understand the issue so well. This happens with our leaders. It happens with our voters, um, and it can have a lot of really bad consequences. Really, really bad consequences. You kind of talked about the climate change talks. You evoked the climate change talks this week, Larry. Um, all the stuff we're dealing with the climate is incredibly complicated. It's very much intertwined, and it's very hard to make any kind of change here. But politicians who might think they understand the issue might approach it in a very simple way. We also are seeing this with the tech industry and a lot of the criticisms that are happening here where I live in Northern California of Silicon Valley.
Talk about your SF hubris. Yes.
Yeah, I know. Hubris is the name of the game here in this town, and the issues that are impacting that have led to a lot of the monopolies and the problems we see with companies like Meta, aka Facebook, and the challenges they've created with democracies and contributed to genocide. These are really complicated issues. They don't have simple solutions, and when we don't know much about
But I'm
something,
sure if we could just get maybe like 13 more layman's documentaries out about all of it, maybe we'll start to turn the corner. It's like there's like been one every 3 months lately, and it's like people are starting to, what a toxic algorithm is.
I hope so.
Negativity magnets, and yeah.
I hope so. It's really these issues that we're dealing with are complicated, and not knowing much about it really contributes to a lot of problems. And this is throughout history, Larry. This is your area, and one of the big problems with democracies has been uninformed voters. And what we know from psychology and the Dunning-Kruger Effect is uninformed voter is one of the most dangerous ones. Because they think they get it, but they don't. So I'll talk a little bit about what to do with this, Larry, because we all experience this, like I did with my plumbing. But you know what? I'm feeling the need for a K3 factor.
You're feeling the need to be K3'd?
The need to be K3'd. Hit it, Dr. Trek. What do you got for us?
That's great. Well, I want to do a shout out to my nephew Steven, who's with us again today, and actually had a great comment here. He said someone at work the other day was joking about how Star Trek 4 was the best Star Trek movie. He said, say that at a con and see the reaction. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. And then Scott replied and said, it's just like people saying Phantom of the Opera is the best musical in a room full of theater fans.
That is so true. That is so true.
And then Jared said everybody knows the best Star Trek movie is Galaxy Quest. Okay, with that little 1, 2, 3. I thought of this last night when I had not yet still watched Prodigy, but I was trying to watch. I've been a little off kilter this week because we've been babysitting and I've been out of.
You haven't been helter skelter.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Not either meaning of that, either connotation connected with that song. But I was trying to think about, because I know there's lots of cases we can connect behind the scenes. And by the way, for you new viewers, K3 is my chance to go deep diving behind the scenes with our theme here into legit Star Trek world. And behind the camera, not in front of it like we've been doing all show long. And I know there's times when we've had overconfidence in somewhere in the creative side or the business side of Star Trek. And then finally, I think and there's probably others I could think of, but I'm just going to go with kind of the big one that I think did not help the franchise. And I've said this before, but have you got the first K3 there?
I got you ready, Dr. Trek.
Go ahead. I'm going to say, entering into the Enterprise era, it was the guy on the left there, Rick Berman. And this is Rick and Brannon Braga at the premiere of the third season of Enterprise. Oh, I didn't take the Getty Images thing off. Okay, everybody ignore that. Meant to crop the photo or blend it or something.
I got you, Dr. Trek. Boom.
Yeah. Oh,
there we go.
Phew.
Did you know I was in the picture too?
Okay. Huh?
Did you know I was in the picture too?
Yes, you are. Yes. The doctor stays in the picture. Okay. No, so I'm going to say, see, on one hand, this proceeded from a very noble goal. Trying to learn all the lessons of launching their third series, fourth series actually. So Next Gen, then DS9, then Voyager, and each one is like, the concept is a pendulum swing, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. Let's not do that again. Oh, we've learned so much. A lot of things about the wisdom of, the well-oiled machine and how to make the show once you design it. And there was a big desire, if the studio was going to force them to not take a break, have a gap year. I just thought of that. That's funny. If Rick actually wanted to take a year off, but the studio was like, no, we got to keep the French, we got to keep the money pouring in. So they were trying to do and I've talked about this, I think, in K3 before, how they were trying to make sure they had new blood, fresh blood, that people weren't fatigued. And if people they thought were fatigued or their contribution was getting old and saggy, that they would bring in someone new. And they did in 3 or 4 positions, and they were going to do a few more. And people basically begged for their job and promised they could be fresh and fresh-eyed for the long haul. But I think some of that may have started from the top, and if not about just exhaustion, about a little overreach. Because part of the goal of Enterprise was, gosh, let's not get into the trap of being caught, and we're running around trying to do 26 shows a year, right? We're not under pressure. Let's give ourselves plenty of buffer time. So the idea was they were going to have a whole lot of scripts in the can before they ever started shooting, which is what they do now all the time with the 10-episode shows, right? That's a smart idea. Unfortunately, all the scripts that were done, Rick and Brannon either wrote them or they wrote the story and then had the freelancers or the staff, take it out. Which on one hand is great. We're going to set the tone of the show early. We're not going to be under the gun. We're going to have everything ready to go. So when we bring the people out, the actors and designers into this, we're going to be ready for it. But I think what that did was stifle the show in also the guise of Rick Berman still wanting to hold the reins so tight that they didn't let the show breathe. And you already were getting little bits of that from the end of Next Generation, and some of the voices coming into the mix, like Brian Fuller, like Mike Sussman, like lots of people along the way, Ron Moore, who thought certain things could go a certain way, and Rick was being very tight on the reins. And where it really came to pour, I think, was Enterprise. Not only was that happening, but they were trying to pre-write scripts and hold tight. And I think if Rick had sat back and made sure that it was to his satisfaction, but sat back and played Dick Wolf, who basically is truly supervising and overseeing, but not trying to be in the day-to-day trench warfare of the shows. And maybe once or twice, but not every single show out of the gate. And I'm just saying, I think whether that's overconfidence or whether that is just a miscall or what, if it's SF hubris or what. But I think that's what damaged Enterprise out of the gate. And to his credit, he talks about all the things he still had to defend against silly little UPN in the beginning, the first couple of years, like wanting a boy band playing in mess hall every week or whatever. So there was still very much that but he could still be a firewall against interference and let the writers write and the creators create. And but that didn't happen. And I think the show got really tired by the second season. And I think that's all the things they were trying to guard against happening were happening at the very top. This is the other graphic. This is all the credits. See, he's either down as, who was a producer. He was not a writer by trade also. This isn't quite as bad as You and Your Plumber. But this is the first season this is the credits with Rick and. So it's Rick and Brannon. Or he's got at least a story that someone else took to teleplay. So, and there's occasionally, if it's a story, those other names are probably weighed in on the story and then took it and did the script. But, every single slot. So trying to be TLC with it, Tender Loving Care with it's great. But I think that was overkill. And I think it burned him out probably and burned out the show's potential at the beginning.
I cannot wait until we get that Enterprise documentary. I really think it's a really interesting story on so many levels, particularly the studio side as well. I never really thought about things from this angle, Larry, but I think there's
there we go.
There's so many really great layers to what happened with Enterprise and what contributed to that series.
Layers as in Layers, or layers as in LAIRS?
Oh. Nicely
Into
done,
my
Larry.
parlor, said the executive to the producer. Yeah.
Hey, Larry, I really enjoyed this little part of Trekland. Is if people want to like experience more of what Portal 47 has to offer,
Yeah.
maybe even with a free open house, you got anything like that coming up for
Oh,
us,
you
Larry?
caught me with my banana. Um, no, yes. Thank you for asking. Everybody, seriously, if you're a longtime lifer or if you're just watching us for the first time, what I just led you through is exactly the kind of thing we do in different ways every month in Portal 47. And speak of the devil, um, our open house that we do every year, we open the gates and let everybody in with our biggest guest of the year. And I'm so excited this year because our guest is Mike McMahon from Lower Decks. Yay! We've had some biggies in the past for our open house in the fall. This is our 6th anniversary, which is kind of amazing. I'm about to enter our 7th year with the portal, which is insane. It's Monday, November 15th. You might check that because I had an earlier date that we had to change because of Mike's schedule. So it is now Monday the 15th, 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, so we can at least get the continental U.S. That's the way we do all of our live events in the portal, all our telebriefings. But you need to click over at my website there, or you can go to larrynemecek.com/openhouse. Click in. You'll get your virtual ticket. It not only has the virtual room ID with it, but you'll be entered for door prizes. And your name will be in. We'll have a little mini version of our Ask Dr. Trek roundtable, which is basically an open mic. There'll be some current Portales there. We've got Portales in the chat here with us today that are lifers. And you'll be entered for the door prizes, and you'll be there where you can jump in and talk. You can also send questions in advance for Mike. We'll be a conversation, he and I will do everything the Trekland way. There's a lot. We're going to talk about lots of the roots and the put together of the show, and that's what I want to get to.
You'll do it the Trekland way.
Yes.
Whatever Larry Nemecek says, that's okay.
Boy, that was out. I'm not familiar with
how to succeed in business without really trying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, definitely not Phantom of the Opera.
I'm your angel of Star Trek.
So seriously, everybody, I'd love for everybody to come over. The more, the merrier. I mean, I'd love to have 100 or 200 folks with us that night, and it'll be great. And you may have heard Mike on other interview shows, but Mike and I have not had a session yet. So it's not like I talked to him over the years and we're going to do this with people. This will be my first. I mean, he and I have talked live at some cons, but we've never done an interview. So I can't wait to get into.
I think it's going to be a ton of fun. I mean, everything I know about Mike, which is not a lot. He's a fan. He loves Star Trek. He loves that era of Star Trek, the TNG era, and his love of Star Trek, I think, really shines as a creator and showrunner of Lower Decks.
He loves the meta of Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
ways,
and
right, which is how Lower Decks is what it is.
And I love that he wants to have fun with Star Trek as well. I think it's going to be a wonderful conversation. So
just like a famous starship captain once said.
And like a famous other starship captain also said, let's report for our away mission.
Very nice, very nice. Someday you're going to get this hosting thing down pat. It's going to be great.
It's going to be good. We'll do it live. So let's talk about the away mission. This is the part of the show where I give you some tips and tricks and ways in which you out there in the lifer community can apply what we've been talking about to your own life. Yeah, Larry's like, how do I stop making stupid decisions because of my overconfidence? So this is a tricky one. And the first thing to realize is it's not that other people are the ones who do this, but we all do this. We're all capable of doing this. We've all done it many different times in different aspects of our lives. So that's the first thing that we need, is to really understand it's not a question of if, but when we do this. And it's often easy to do this when you don't have a lot of experience with something or a lot of knowledge of this thing. So if what you are doing is something that's somewhat important and you want to make sure you don't completely mess it up. One thing that's been shown to be helpful is to think not in terms of like, will this go well or not, but what's the probability of this not going well? That seems to help, Larry. Like if I thought of like, okay, what are the chances that I might not be able to fix this toilet? I think I would not have said it's 100% surefire that I'm going to be able to fix this thing.
I have not computed the odds.
Yeah. Never tell me the odds. Wait, wrong franchise there. But this is something that data often does. So you want to think like data is like, what is the probability that this is going to blow up in your complete face? And if sometimes just that much can be enough to give people pause before they take action, as opposed to saying like, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine is you telling yourself like, it's going to be good or bad. It's going to totally work out. But if you think about probabilities, sometimes that does help people to kind of slow down. The next thing to think about is like, is this something that's really important? Is this something that might be, if it doesn't go well, would this be costly to you in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of your career, in terms of your reputation? Like how big of a failure could this be to you? And if it is something that's really important, what seems to really help is getting the support of your senior staff. So I already talked about thinking like data. Well, the other thing that our captains do, not just like consulting data, but the other thing they do is they consult the senior staff. So you want to talk to the people you are close to and then ask them, hey, I got this problem with the toilet. Like, do you know anything about this? Like, what would you do in this situation? And if you talk to enough people that you're close to, someone is probably has more experience with this and will tell you like, hey, Ali, actually, this is a simple thing. This is something you can fix yourself. Or they might say, I wouldn't mess with it. Like, call the expert. Go get some
Shore and waste extraction.
Yeah. Get lower decks on the line. Get one of them to come here and fix this thing.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the easiest ways to deal with this Dunning-Kruger effect. In other words, don't just stay in your own head about this. Think about what can go wrong, how much of a problem that would be, and consult your senior staff to get some help for that, Larry. We kind of I think a lot about this. Is not to get too meta, not Facebook type, but they're kind of ruining that word for us.
Yeah.
But
I just want to say,
yeah,
calling yourself meta is like the least meta thing you can do. Can I just say?
There was a lot of great. You saw that image where Zuckerberg he's like, and with the picture of Meta. A lot of people Photoshop that really well, and my favorite one was him like this, and it was an image of the like Dominion invasion of the Alpha Quadrant. And I was like, this is perfect. This is great. I love this one.
You saw that in Star Trek Pages and Spaces, I guess, right?
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter somewhere.
Because if that was mainstream, then we're all in trouble.
No,
okay.
it was in the Twitter Star Trek stuff. So that was really great. I really enjoyed that. So those are the tips I've got for you. I know it's easier said than done, and you don't have to do this in every scenario. But you think about like when the possibility of failure is big. When in terms of the cost of what might happen, you definitely want to have more intellectual humility. You definitely want to approach this with the same weight that all of our great captains do before they make a decision. So there we go. Oh, yeah, this is what I was going to say, not to get too meta, but Larry, this is, when we started Life Support Live, there was a ton of stuff we did not know about live streaming. And to our credit, we did try to get information from other people. What are the apps you use? What is the
Mhm.
technology? What are the services that you use? And we were trying to prioritize what's the easiest and cheapest thing to get off the
What's
ground.
most we can do with only the two of us without a
Yes.
third person? Right.
Yes. Yes. And that's kind of how we wound up with what we've had. And
That's
what
why it's so wondrously rinky dink all these months. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the stream breaks down, but it's just you and
That's not
me.
us.
It's
That's not us. Yeah.
yeah, it's just us, trying to make this work. And I think all things being said, it's done pretty well. We also have the help of Scott getting the podcast episodes. We also have the help of Jared cleaning up some of the stuff for us. So we have some support. When we're live, though, it's just us. And I think the feedback we actually got in launching this has helped us to keep it going for now 74 episodes. So with that, Larry, let's open up those hailing frequencies and kind of dive in to the comments. We've had
Yeah.
such great.
Everybody's having a lot of fun. You're getting some plumbing advice too, by the way. Different places.
That was 2 homes ago. I that was back in New York. I don't live in that place anymore.
Oh well.
Although, if anyone
Ooh,
has
New
any
York plumbing is a certain kind of hell.
if anyone
Okay.
has any advice on how to remove a broken light bulb from a socket, I will take that advice because I've been dealing.
You have the circuit turned off and
Yes,
get pliers
I've tried.
and
This thing
break
is.
the thing. No, I mean in the inside. Break and
Yep.
like wedge out the pliers
Yep.
and try to wedge from the
I
inside.
try. So my problem now. Welcome to this old house. My problem, Larry, is the socket is also now like loose. So when I do that, it's also kind of turning the socket unit.
Can you clamp the socket while you do the? Can you put a clamp on the socket
The
and then
problem with that is it's in this
yeah.
long casing around it. So like getting that, I can't clamp. I can't go out because it's the light fixtures inside this thing. So
Have you tried just jumping off a cliff?
yeah, I know that would solve. I would not have to deal with that problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, Charlotte says cut a potato in half. I know I did do that once when I was a child, and that seemed to work. But then I got a lot of potato in there.
So you
Oh man.
call electricity shows up and goes, oh, well, here's your problem. You got a lot of potato up in your life.
Yeah, I know. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Then don't do that. Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Hawkeye.
There's a.
No, hey, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say people.
I'm just looking at the chat. So I don't know. I just want to do a shout out at here at 11:24. David, Francoeur. Sorry, I'm butchering your last name, David. But maybe you're a newbie with us. Hello. He's saying hello here. Maybe he says more later on. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out. I'm keeping up with the chat here.
Keeping up with the chat. Robert has a great advice from his dad. Dad always said, "Keep friends that have knowledge of things you are not good at close." That is wonderful advice. It also speaks to how much importance there is to have diversity of thought among your friends and diversity of experiences, which I think in a lot of communities is hard. It is hard now to have friends who have a lot of background and experiences doing a wide variety of things, and why it's so important to have that. Great advice, Robert.
Yeah. Well, I say that, and then a couple minutes later, so David, I was just giving a shout out to, is crossing streams in a whole different, rare way. He's quoting Victor Bergman from Space 1999. With all that we learned that we still have much to learn, which is kind of a rephrasing of my Will quote. But yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Charlotte asks, okay, but Ali, what if you do think things through and all you can think about is how it might go wrong?
That's a whole show, I think.
It's a whole show. So you're kind of talking about this often happens with people who might be
underconfidence.
Yeah,
what do you call it?
This often happens with people who might be struggling with anxiety, with struggling with depression.
Frozen with
having To some degree, having that perspective can be adaptive in certain jobs. Like, I want my air traffic controller to be much more cautious and thinking through the worst case scenarios. Obviously, not to a degree where it's impairing, where they can't do their job. But if you are someone like that, then that is a whole different strategy of trying to treat the anxiety and treat the depression that we would need to talk about, which is a totally different episode. But it is a good question. It is a good question, Charlotte.
Thanks.
A lot of what we have to do in that scenario is help you become more tolerant of uncertainty and help you to make smaller decisions more frequently, as opposed to what feels like a big decision. So get good at making small decisions, and then get good at tolerating that uncertainty by getting your mind focused on other things, so you can ride out and wait out to see what happens. That's a lot of what we would do in that scenario.
There's a mini counselor's log right there.
Boom! Didn't think you had it in me. Ha ha! Mini counselor's log.
Didn't think I had it in you. Okay, I'm not okay.
Not you, Larry. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the lifers.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to say shout out also to Libby, who apparently was not going to be here, but she's here. So apparently her unbroken string, she's been here since life support number 1. And she said at 11:29, she said she's not really here, but she's saying hi. And now she can still say she's participated in every LSL. So
we should have an award for that.
And I got a mention of Rom in there, by the way, for you in abstention. So
yeah, your toilet's broken. Called Rom. He'll fix it. Actually, there was a great comment about Rom. I forget who said this, because once the stream was broken, I lost the comments. But someone talked about how Rom said in Little Green Men that he is smart, but he lacks the confidence to like really believe in himself. So
I've always been smart, brother. I just didn't have the confidence, right?
Yes. Which is, I think a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge about some things, sometimes they do experience this. Like, I see this with academics all the time, Larry. How can I possibly talk to the press and have sound bites for what to do with anxiety? Because it's just so complicated and it's so nuanced. And I'm like, yes, do not, like, that doesn't stop anyone else who doesn't know what they're talking about, right? Like, this is the issue. I was watching Last Week Tonight, and they covered John Oliver on HBO. He covered homelessness, and he shared this clip of Dr. Drew, who is a substance abuse. He's a physician who's been very famous in the U.S. for being on a lot of radio shows back in the days.
Right.
Anyways, he has a physician who has a lot of expertise in actually substance use and other problems. But in this clip, Dr. Drew was talking about how homelessness is purely a substance use and addiction problem, which is not true. That's part of it for some people.
Right.
But we know, especially in places like California, as our housing crisis has become more of a problem, we have seen an increase in homelessness. There's a lot of people who just cannot afford a home and cannot afford their rent, lose jobs, and suddenly find themselves in a homeless situation. So anyways, why was I bringing that up? Oh, there's a lot of experts, a lot of people who feel like they are an expert in one thing and then feel confident in talking about everything. So this is something I've had to be very cautious of, Larry, as I make content for the internet and sometimes for more traditional media. I have to know what my limits are and what I do know and what I don't know, and make sure I stay in the bounds of what I know, because you can very easily feel like you're an expert at everything, and then suddenly you're making statements that John Oliver ends up making fun of on Last Week Tonight.
Yeah. Hey, here's a real question from Melanie at 11:29. She says, psych question. I love that. Oh, look, it's actually a question about psych. Do you see this? She says, is overconfidence a trait of narcissism? Grandiose exaggerations. Example, my husband has read one medical book many years ago. He thinks he's an anesthesiologist.
Yeah. So,
Better that than a brain surgeon.
Larry, who asked
Uh,
that question?
Melanie.
Melanie. Yeah. So, Melanie, that's a great question. One thing I want everyone to know is all the stuff we always talk about when it comes to psychology and mental health. It's always on a continuum. It's always on a spectrum, where it's a spectrum of very common and helpful to very uncommon and impairing. And narcissism is like that, having a sense of confidence in yourself, feeling good about yourself, is very helpful. And it can also become a big problem, especially if it's getting in the way of your relationships, if you're making poor decisions, if you aren't able to take input from other people and criticism for other people. So, is overconfidence tied to this? Absolutely. When you feel very emboldened, when you feel very good about yourself, it can become easier to become more confident and make some of these emotional decisions. Larry, this happens in Las Vegas all the time. It happens, I'm on a winning streak. Like,
Oh, like real Las Vegas, not Trek Vegas. Okay.
yeah, real Las Vegas. It happens with gambling. People feel very confident and very emotional. They're feeling good. And so they make emotional decisions based on how they're feeling as opposed to the actual probabilities here. And so you end up saying, yeah, let's do more. Let's do more. I'm feeling good. I'm on a winning streak. Things are going
I'm
to
on a
go
street.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly, like, things end up collapsing because the probability, the house always wins here. The great house of Moog always wins. Not that kind of house winning.
Yep. The
Vegas
House
winning.
of Kaash. Yes. Okay.
The house of Cash. That would be the house of what's Quark's house? The house of
The House of Quark.
the house of Quark. That would be
The House of Rilke. What do you?
yeah.
Yeah,
There
it
we
was the
go.
house. It's the name of the episode.
So, yeah. Did I answer the question, Melanie? Did I answer? Maybe.
She said, "Is overconfidence a trait of narcissism?"
Yeah, it absolutely can
Grandiosity.
be. It absolutely can be. And I also want to say, like, narcissism is on the spectrum. It can be very helpful and
Well,
in
it's
healthy
like
amounts.
it's Dunning-Kruger run amok to the nth degree.
Yeah. To the nth degree. Great episode. Yes, and let's also remember that, like, this is something we're all capable of, and it happens all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, small doses, big doses.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I just, back when we were talking about something, JR said, "We'll crop it live." Okay. I think it was, yeah. I'm just, let's see. I'm looking here.
Linda brought up Dr. Oz, who is a good example of
Yeah.
someone who
Yeah.
has spoken about a lot of things that maybe does not have the expertise in. Because Larry, the other thing that happens here, I don't know.
90% of the government payroll doctors during the first 10 months of the pandemic.
Say that again.
I said, how about 90% of the government medical people on the payroll during the first 10 months of the pandemic?
How so?
What you were about to say about Dr. Oz.
What? I'm so lost. And now
You were about to say Dr. Oz making medical comments about
oh
fields of medicine he has no.
yeah. He's made a lot of comments about some alternative medicine things that are not necessarily factual. He and I were technically colleagues when we were both at Columbia, and I did not know how Columbia kept him on the payroll there. I don't know how. But this is something that happens often, Larry. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I often get asked to comment on things that I have no. I've been invited to speak on shows, and I'm like, why are you picking me? I don't know anything about this stuff. But there's this perception that because I speak about psychology and mental health, that I can speak to all of psychology or all of mental health. But I have very limited experience treating people.
Oh, I have faith in you, Ollie. I know you can do it.
Yeah, like people ask me to speak on like eating disorders, and I'm like, I am not an expert on that. I do not know much about that. Or people ask me like, can you speak to paranormal phenomenon and why people believe in this stuff?
Can
And
you say it?
yeah,
Yes.
can I even say those words? And I'm like, I am not the person for you. Please go talk to these other people. But the reason they're reaching out to me is the perceived expertise in talking publicly. And just because, yeah, I can talk in sound bites doesn't mean I have expertise in all these things. I think
In the depth.
that's a classic media
No,
expert problem.
I'm going to take back your Dunning-Kruger certificate. Okay. You obviously had a healthy view of your limits and your strengths and limits. Not weaknesses, but just, your pluses and your not pluses.
Oh man.
Uh,
Oh man.
Let me see. I'm just bopping down through. So anyway, good question. Hey, Robert. Thank you, Robert. Personally, you got your Portal 47 pin as a member, and you're going to a conference. Yay! Thank you. Melanie says, how can she find the link to open house to my open house? It's down here lower. Scott put it in the chat. I'm catching up here. Apparently, we've been in and out of sync a little bit for some people. Charlotte said, okay, but Ali at 11:43. What if you do think things through and all you can think about is how it might go wrong? We talked
about that.
Yeah, we did do that. Okay. Wow, I'm way behind.
A little deja vu glitch in the Matrix. A lot of people talking about needle nose pliers to help me with that. I've been playing with those pliers. The problem is that socket's turning. Karen says call electrician and change out the whole thing. It might come to that, Karen.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah.
I did buy. There's a special like $8 tool for removing sockets. I bought that. That's going to be my last ditch attempt, and if I can't, that arrives tomorrow. If that doesn't fix it, I'm going to have to call an electrician. Apparently, Larry, this is it's a bulb I inherited from the last person who lived here, and apparently a lot of these old bulbs do this, and the new bulbs, LEDs, do not break at this point. So, folks, get some new bulbs, save some power, and save yourself the heartache of.
Sure. Here's your this old house hint from life support. Yeah.
Yeah. Linda says the same thing happens with nurses. I'm highly specialized. Please don't expect me to know about current thinking in other areas.
I thought she was going to say same thing with nurses. We break off in this.
Oh no.
Thing too. Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, all these. I was doing really well, and then I got behind. So now I'm still in the potato cures. Getting all the hardware. Did we do a good job today? Did we get through the show without it being?
Kind of got through the show. Yeah. Larry, when is Discovery back?
Discovery starts the 18th. So
what the heck are we gonna do?
I don't know.
We have two new Star Treks each week for a little bit.
Well, that's happening. I also need to say, and I didn't send you an image for it. There is a documentary series, if somehow you've missed hearing about it, called Center Seat, that Nacelle Company, the people who did the Toys That Made Us.
Love Toys That Made Us. I love that.
If you enjoy that, they set out to do an 8-part series about Star Trek's total history from the roots of Cage all the way to the end of Enterprise. And then they got bumped up. Now they're doing 10 chapters. They actually have some more to come, but they're doing 10. And it starts on the History Channel. It's for History Channel. Although after 4 episodes, you have to get on their app. They're like paid part. But the first 4 are on the free History Channel on most cable systems and direct streaming and all that. So anyway, I'm one of the speakers in it. There's a lot of folks. There's a lot of faces, but it's really, really well done. And this started with the roots of the original series, but backing up into Lucy and Desilu and what was going on in the industry and at Desilu and Gene. And then through the original series. And I've been getting a lot of, I didn't edit it, heaven forbid, but a lot of people most people seem to enjoy it. And it's great entry point. Prodigy is a great entry point, especially for kids into Star Trek. And the Center Seat is a great entry point too. And, an hour at a time. And I think right now it's a great time in Star Trek because there's new Trek coming. Discovery is coming, yeah, but it's a great time to be new and get your friends and family and people that have always wondered how to get in. But anyway, I'm very proud of Center Seat happening too. And yes, Discovery is coming up on the 18th. And I think we should, since, I think Discovery is open to everybody and Prodigy still technically isn't. We can look at both of them, but I would lean into going Discovery.
I think we take the better theme that comes out from both episodes, whatever seems
And
to be.
how do we pick the better? Okay.
What we have more stuff to talk about.
You call it better. Maybe I call it easier.
Yeah. The easier thing. I mean, I actually thought this theme was quite easy. It's a topic that someone
it's the first
asked.
time I've seen you explode out of the gate with before I could.
Well, because I remembered, at first I thought we did this, and then I realized it was requested, but we never did it. That's what happened.
It's just a case of you thinking we'd already done it because you're so overconfident that we have.
In fact, someone requested. They didn't request overconfidence. They requested a theme around the Dunning-Kruger Effect. So there you go. I hope that person has watched the show. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's a lot of people discussing holiday music now. Okay.
It's a real thing. So Charlotte I'm calling out these times to you. Maybe they mean nothing.
They mean nothing to me, and they also mean nothing to anyone who's not in our time zone.
Well, no. I mean the restream chat. I still have as an intact chat. So the restream never cut out.
And I lose it from before the stream was cut off. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I could say from about 11 minutes ago, 12 minutes ago, Charlotte said, "Oh, it's a reply to Jared, but they're talking about ways to be a little knowledgeable without being Dunning-Kruger." She said her nonprofit management training, as well as working for a smaller nonprofit previously, taught me a little bit about a lot of different areas, which has served me well in understanding how different departments operate or should operate, regardless of what department I myself work in, even now that you're at a much larger company. In other words, there you go. To me, that's like having a little taste of everything, and what's the old thing? You know enough to know how much you don't know, which is kind of what Will said. But knowing a little bit, you can adequately gauge when you need to go get help or when you need to go seek more expert advice.
Yeah,
this being totally at a loss and not even knowing where. There's times things pop up and you don't even know where to start looking.
Well, this is why I think
for advice or solutions or whatever.
In the United States, we used to have shop class, and we used to have a lot more about yeah, we used to have a lot more about like the hands-on work of running a home, and we don't have as much of that anymore. And I think a little bit of knowledge around tools, around the basics, was super helpful. But you look at cars now. Most modern cars are not repairable. You cannot tackle these cars at all unless you are an expert. It used to be that
you have a degree for the computer chips.
Yeah. I mean, Larry, when you were growing up, when I was growing up, you could change your oil by yourself. You could do a lot of these basic things, but yeah, now with the chips, but also like electrified cars, so hybrid cars or electric cars, it's highly dangerous to do any work on those because there's always an active charge. Whereas with old cars, gas-powered cars, when the car was off, there's a lot you can mess around with, and it's pretty safe. Not so much anymore. So a lot of these tasks have become more complicated. Not only do we get less support in the basics, but a lot of the tasks have become much more complicated. You know what I just got this past week, Larry, that I'm super excited about?
I would not venture to guess.
I got a push mower. There's no engine. This is something to cut grass.
It's the old, just the little spirally bladed thing?
Yes, and it's basically you spin it and it just like clips.
That's so 30s.
I love this thing so much.
It really works.
Yeah, well, we have a very small area of grass. If you have acres, I wouldn't use this. It would take forever. But we have a small area of grass, and it is so wonderful because it's so basic. It's so easy to work. It's not loud. It doesn't pollute. It's human powered, not gas, not electric. It's not another thing you have to charge. But it's also very easy to fix and maintain because there's not a lot of machinery here. It spins in a circle and the blades hit each other and it clips the grass. But there's not a lot of machines like that. I mean, I'm looking at my laptop here. I can't change the battery here. I can't. There's nothing really I can do to if this machinery fails. There's nothing I can do to fix it. And I think that's part of the challenge nowadays. Is a lot of the equipment we use is very complicated.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's cheaper to buy a new device than it is to try to repair, get parts and repair it.
Yeah.
I'm so somebody. I thought this was a joke, but I guess it's a real person. So Nathaniel said something about Daniel Kahneman.
Kahneman, yeah.
Kahneman.
Nobel Prize winning Daniel Kahneman.
Who brings up the fallacy that experts are able to make accurate predictions. He's saying that the more you know, I'm losing the track here. Do you know about this person? And
I'm trying to find the comment.
It's 12 minutes ago. Yeah, then a little below that.
Isn't Kahneman who brings up the fallacy that experts are able to make accurate predictions? I don't remember Nathaniel, though I know Daniel Kahneman has spoken a lot about decision making. I don't remember. I'll get back to you on that one. Don't hold me to it because I might not, because I might forget. Glenn here. Back to this old house. Glenn saying, I have a manual mower for emergencies, but I haven't used it in a good 10 years. Linda says, I want a push mower, but my husband says no. They're really great if you have a little bit of grass. The other thing to remember is it's more of a workout than it is like a thing you just ride or push around. But and Robert says, I hope your push mower is a 5-blade Sears module and it's what I grew up with, and I made money cutting lawns with. I can tell you exactly what I got. I love it. If people are really interested in the mower, I will find out what it is. Gosh, Larry, I didn't know people would be this excited about the lawnmower. I guess people are as excited as I am.
They're just so handy and helpful to jump in for your problem. Right.
Yeah. Here is this beautiful. There it is. That was me. It's beautiful.
You took a picture.
I took a picture. I loved it so much. I took a picture. It is
it's all freshly green and everything. It's not rusted at all.
It's a Scott's push mower. It's green. Check it out. I got it. It was on sale. I loved it. It's.
Are you a lawn care influencer? Is that?
Yeah. Life Support Live brought to you by the Scott's push mower. Everyone knows the trick.
The Life Support audience was the perfect place to go influence people on their lawn care needs. Yeah. It's a glam world. It is. Yeah.
Oh my God. The other problem with the push mower is you have to do it frequently. You have to cut it on a regular basis because if your grass grows too high, it becomes really difficult to use it.
Right.
So
why
are we talking about all this stuff?
I don't know. I'm just I'm looking at the chat here. Everybody's in there. People are talking about Christmas songs and Thanksgiving songs.
We're all over the place.
And all over. Yeah. The right to repair is debated. Everybody's all over the place. We've unleashed a madhouse here. I was overconfident that we could complete this show without losing track.
Glenn says boldly mowing, which I love. And J.R. Pohl says singing and mowing and trekking. Oh my! And Linda saying there's no grass in the future.
Oh.
Yeah, no. Okay, Larry,
Wait a minute.
tell
You're
us again.
different.
Tell us again. How to find your open house this week? How can people?
Somebody asked, and I think Scott put the link in there, but it's LarryNemecek.com/open house. Hopefully it's very easy to here. I'll do it again. Boom, there in the chat. So yeah, I'd love to see everybody there. Even if you're, and please everybody, even if you're on my list, if you're a lifer or a portale even, please come and register fresh. So that's the pool of names that will be in for the drawings. So, and I also will have a good head count. So, yeah. Scott just unleashed some awesome, I haven't got a chance to tell you, Scott, live, but I saw the new graphics you did for socials, and they're awesome. A little bit of video movement, and they look really, really swanky this year. So I'm really excited, and I'm very excited to have Mike. Mike's the first, with one or two exceptions, the first modern guest I've had in any part of Portal. And I think CBS is loosening up. I think you're seeing more creatives out talking on podcasts and things. So I think they're loosening up a little bit and seeing the value in that. So yay.
I don't have anything big
coming. Are you running music?
I'm running music. The sad music is on. I don't have anything big happening this week. If you haven't seen it yet, I had 2 new episodes of the Psych Show a week ago, so check those out. Those are great. And yeah, I'm just gonna be at Olimatu on social this week. Nothing too wild coming up. But yeah. That's about that. Folks, let us know what you want us to talk about next. We always love getting your requests for topics. We in the United States, we have the Thanksgiving week coming up in a few weeks. Larry will have to figure out what we want to do for that. I think what we should do is we should do a watch along earlier in the week. Have something for people to check out that they can also watch delayed. So if you have a recommendation for what would be a good holiday episode of Star Trek that we can watch together? Let us know in the comments below. It would be fun to do a series we haven't done yet, Larry. We've done the original series. We've done TNG. We did DS9. We did Voyager. We've done Lower Decks.
We haven't done an Enterprise?
We haven't done Enterprise. We haven't done Discovery. We haven't done Picard, and I guess Prodigy too. There's so many series
we
now.
Haven't done...
Or short treks. We haven't done that either.
Well, that'll take nothing. Okay. We could be sitting on a beach sipping jippers somewhere. Okay.
Let us know, folks. Until then, live long and prosper, my friends.
Yes, folks. Check out the open house. Trek well.